Hello, and welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I am Lizzie.
We are the Emo Social Club podcast, the podcast about music and pop culture and news, a little bit of politics. We have a couple stories we want to talk about today that happened from this past week. We're going to discuss a little bit about the Yellowcard lawsuit issue, and we're also going to talk about how excited we are for Umbrella Academy Season 2. But first, Lizzie, what do you got going on this week?
So I have a new newsletter and the chaos that has ensued in the last 2-3 weeks on Twitter, where everyone got a newsletter. And I was seeing that it was more like just a normal kind of personal base mixed in with music for the most part. I don't know if anybody else has any different newsletters. I'm assuming so, but that's the kind of vibe I went with. So I put out one. I'm trying to work on another one. And that one was originally 10 pages because I had a lot of emotional shit to put into it. But We're probably going to do another one about a book steeped in the 90s Chicago music scene and the South Side of Chicago culture, which I really like to look into, especially with how the book presents it in the 1990s. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like relevance and how music inherently is supposed to generate political conversation. So we're going to see wherever that newsletter goes. I'm a big stickler for edits. So it's probably not going to be out super fast. Plus I have class, but if you want to read my newsletter and emotional well-being and see the decline of it, it's called burntcds.substack.com. I also have it on my personal Twitter and Linktree and everything. So you can check that out. And then I also will just retweet it on the podcast Twitter just because I'm kind of on there more than my own personal one. My own personal one at Born Battery. You can definitely follow me on there, but it's going to be more like normal news because I have a lot of professors and coworkers following me on there now.
Oh, God.
I know.
God.
It's very scary.
Yeah. Oh God, these people are affected. They affect you directly, and they're like,
they
cool,
directly
thoughts.
the whole ass dean of my communication school follows me on my Twitter, on my personal Twitter.
I care very little for that. I hate that most dearly.
I hate that too.
Is that it? Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
I have nothing else other than we have emo yoga on Mondays. I've been missing it the last couple of weeks. One, I just needed a break. And two, I got called into work and was not going to get back home from the city until very late at night. So we're back this upcoming Monday. Hopefully we figure out the sound issues on my end with my new equipment and we'll flow through some things. Nice.
I have been streaming on really just every day. I've been doing Monday through Thursday. I'm thinking about making it even more consistent than that. Around 11 a.m. just playing video games. I've been playing some story-based games, and I just want to finish the story and don't want it to be a once-a-week thing. It's been a lot of fun. Some people have actually been coming and hanging out with me. So, if you want to come to those, that's pretty much every day. We're not doing the Wednesday nights for right now. Don't know if we're going to again, but we also have our DJ stream on Friday afternoons, evenings, I guess. It's 5:30 p.m. Central Time. We had a really good one last week. A lot of people came. Our friend, It's Gemma Edwards, keeps raiding our channel with a bunch of people from the UK, and they make a lot of interesting requests. I played the first Creeper song I ever listened to last week.
Really?
Because somebody was in the chat
which one?
Yo, can you play Creeper? I don't know. I found whatever most recent video, and it was Anime. So I was like, yeah, it's the one.
Oh, that's one of their new songs.
Yeah, it was good. I really liked it. So we play a lot of like kind of whatever we want, whatever the chat is feeling. We're open-minded to any genre, anything that people are vibing with. And it's a lot of good times. It's a lot of good vibes. So that's on Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. The video game streams are just kind of every day around 11 a.m. I've also been having sound issues, so sometimes they start a little bit late. If you want to be notified when we go live, you can follow us at emosocialclub.tv, or you can join our Discord channel at emosocial.club/Discord. You will also be notified in there, and you can join us for some sweet chats when the streams aren't happening in there, talking about music, talking about gaming, talking about anime, talking about all kinds, like conversations
Sometimes
just kind of all over the place.
Fiancé.
A lot of times 90 Day Fiancé. It's just kind of going all over the place. So it's a lot of fun. Join the club. Let's get into our stories. The first thing we're going to talk about today is the Save Our Stages legislation. On the pod before, we had a guest, Brett Crawford, who was the social media manager for the Metro, Smart Bar, and G-Man Tavern. So we had him on to talk about NEVA and talk about how these independent venues across Chicago are struggling, obviously, because they don't have the ability to put on music inside of their venues. A lot of concerts were canceled. So we have a lot of venues that have shows and tickets that needed to be refunded. And now all the money that was going into those venues is now lost. It's a kind of a quick summary of what happened that I'm sure everybody kind of knows. Like, obviously, venue business is not happening right now. In Chicago, as we discussed, there's a lot of venues that are independently run. So these are venues that are not owned by Live Nation. I think that's like the biggest thing is like in the city of Chicago, there are more, I forget how Brett said it, so maybe you can correct me on this statistic, but there are more independent venues than anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, in Illinois, actually, overall, which is surprising because I know, because there is like Southern Illinois University, so there are a few venues down there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure the names of them, but I'm aware. I think there's at least 2 to 4 down there, and I'm assuming there's probably more spread across the rest of Illinois that we've never been down to.
I'm not running out there.
I'm not either.
So the idea here is that, you know, a company like Live Nation, Ticketmaster, you know, these large conglomerate companies that can own venues or really will survive without making some money for a while. They have really big ticket events, and that money generally doesn't get seen at these venues, but the venues are owned by them anyway. So it's probably fine. I don't think that like Northerly Island or Allstate Arena, or not all, Allstate, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Allstate, United Center, Northerly Island, Huntington Bank at Northerly Island, whatever it is now.
It is. These are not venues that are at risk of closing. For us, the ones that are of personal value to Lizzie and I are places like Subterranean, Beat Kitchen, Bottom Lounge, the Metro. Lizzie, do you have any other favorites you want to throw in here?
Any other favorites? Hideout Inn is a big one. Mm-hmm. They're more of also like kind of like a community where you can like go and hang out. They have like different, like, you know, soup and bread nights, which I've never been to, but I have people I work with who've gone to there, and it's just a bunch of people hanging out in this like really crazy, quirky like dive bar. Mm-hmm. I only been there like a handful of times for work, and every time I'm here, I'm like, this place is really cool, and like I'm in like a fever dream of like the quirky new girl, like mid 2010s like TV show aesthetic vibe, and it's fine. I can live with it because it's cooler than that. Yeah.
Hideout does a lot of really interesting events. It's not just music; it's comedy. They've had some politicians go in there and speak, you know, for whatever the purpose is. But these venues are all they're all independently owned. So literally a guy owns Beat Kitchen and Subterranean who emailed out a mailing list. He's been emailing like pretty much every couple weeks because there's just no money coming in right now. Subterranean is a venue only. B Kitchen is a restaurant and a venue. So B Kitchen has been able to do some food service. They've been able to do to-go orders and all that. But Subterranean is just a venue. If there's no music happening, there's no money coming into it. So when we were talking with Brett, it was about the NIVA and Civil, which is the National Independent Venue
League.
Something. Is it? But it's Chicago Independent Venue League is Civil.
Yes, is Civil.
And there's NEVA,
and then
which
NEVA
is National Independent Venue Association, I guess.
I think there's another V in there.
No,
right?
it's just 4 letters.
Oh, okay. There's 4 letters. Okay.
We know a lot about this subject.
We do. We swear we do. I'm just trying to think like off the top of my head. And no, I thought there was more letters in there, but there's not.
Yeah.
But it's National Independent Venue Association, and it's just a large collective of everybody nationally, obviously trying to get more advocacy out there for money and kickbacks, because as we've seen in the news, especially that what's been reported over the last month, where there have been, records that have been put out about who received these big PPP loans, which are basically the small business loans that people got. And as long as 50% went to paying payroll to keep people employed, they wouldn't need to pay it back. Otherwise, it's a 1% payback rate for interest, which is like amazing. Your credit cards are usually like 13% back. Okay,
1% is the interest that you get on your savings accounts, not on your loans.
Yeah, when you like put it in your bank and they're like, you earned 1 penny of interest this whole year. That's what it is.
Yes. Oh,
yes,
I did it.
Got it.
God.
But we're not your financial advisors, and we shouldn't be for a lot of varying reasons. Mainly because I can't do math. But when we look at those loans, you see a lot of bigger places. Like one of the biggest ones was Shake Shack, even though they technically are a small business because they aren't under like a corporation like McDonald's per se. They got called out for it because they received a substantial amount and they gave it back. They have been open too, because there is like 4 Shake Shacks in the Loop in the city, I think. I passed at least 2 of them on my way to work, and most of them were open during a lot of the initial slow reopening process, at least for takeout. And there were still a lot of people going into Shake Shack because it is such like a huge name.
It's pretty good.
But that's just like
I won't lie. I do kind of like it.
I like their shakes. I don't like
the Shack.
Their fries or their burgers too much. Their shakes are good.
Well then.
So there's that. I mean, it's their namesake, so it's got to be.
They're shaking their Shack.
It's a shake in the Shack. But when we have that, and then you also have people who are, either independent contractors, or you have like small businesses like venues, people aren't going to usually think of that of a small venue. A small business. You're going to think of a small business as like, your local boutique that you go to, or your local like independent coffee shop. You're going to think of things that you go to every single day. And that is kind of like the norm for you. But when we look at music venues, how many people often go to a music venue at least once a month, at the very least? I don't know how you don't go to a concert less than that, or not at all.
Depends on who's
strange
on tour.
To me. Yeah, I guess.
Who's touring?
I guess. But it's, they kind of get factored out. And there's a lot of things that people are unsure of on how they exactly chose who got what type of money. And it could also be because you do have a lot of people there who are working on a freelance contract base or just by gig work. So it's also harder to show that on paperwork when sending that over to, a large government agency to get a loan. Whereas if you had like, an independent coffee shop and you said, I need this loan, I have like, 15 people on staff and like 10 of them are part-time, the rest are full-time, here's expenses and everything. Whereas if you had, a lot of paid contractors or paid freelancers, it's a little bit more difficult because, it can change each and every time. And with, this new legislation coming forward, you will hopefully have allocated money that goes only to these people. So you're not fighting against, other people who might have smaller businesses who are either maybe just starting out or they're still kind of struggling to pick up the pace on it, you're actually getting it for this designated section of entertainment. Because then we also go into the monopoly of it that we all know is like Live Nation and Ticketmaster, who own a lot larger venues and who has also continuously have had a lot of issues and lawsuits recently with, you know, overcharging on processing and handling fees. I mean, you could go in and say this ticket is $20 and then the processing handling fee is 15 fucking dollars. And we've all dealt with it. I'm pretty sure we have at this point.
Yeah.
So it's trying to also like minimize that and take away from, you know, the head corporation who's running concert industry right now, which nobody really wants. So keeping these independent venues funded and around is really important when we have, you know, these pieces of legislation and people championing them finally. More so in Congress, especially to have them start to be trending a little bit more so in the news in a mainstream sense, rather than just, you know, if you're a part of music Twitter, your music social media, you're gonna see it because those are the places you go to all the time. But if you're, you know, maybe, you know, Bob and Karen in the suburbs and you go to like House of Blues like once a year is your big date night because Sister Hazel's playing or whatever the fuck at House
That
of Blues,
seems
and you're
way too specific.
listen.
But you're,
you know, it's important.
You're hitting on something there with this. So NEVA and Civil are two individual things that are trying to focus attention of congressional support for a specific bailout package that helps small venues across the nation to stay open, because they will not be able to if there is no money coming to them. Like you mentioned with Live Nation and that, they'll be fine, but obviously we want to make sure there is a package that is not just the PPP, where some businesses that are not technically small businesses but don't really need the bailout, they won't benefit the most by it. We know that there's another PPP conversation happening in Congress, and cool. But we need something that is specifically for these venues. So NEVA and Civil have been pushing for people to call their Congress members, call people in their government, people who are representing you, to say, I want this support for these things. So what we got this week was a little bit more information about some Congress people, some senators who are really pushing for specific things, and how NEVA is on the side of these things. So there are three separate bills that are not law. They are being discussed within Congress. We're waiting for more information on this. But to give an idea of what those specific bills are, the first one is the Restart Act. This is the one that NEVA in particular supports. It would double the PPP's repayment period and allow the loans to be spent in other ways than just the payroll, so it could keep a venue open, and the loans remain forgivable. So NEVA has been really pushing for this one. This is one that all of these acts I should mention are bipartisan. There's a Democrat and a Republican sponsor, so this is not a partisan issue. This is a small business issue. So
it's more of like everyone, even unfavorable people to some, like to go out and have fun sometimes.
Everybody wants small businesses to thrive and survive.
There's not that many things that we have a bipartisan stance on other than small businesses should survive, and Epstein didn't kill himself, and that's it. That's sad to say, but that's it.
Yeah. The second one is the Save Our Stages Act. It would create $10 billion in small business administration grants to help venues through the next 6 months. Each venue's eligible for 45% of its 2019 operating budget, up to $12 million, which sounds pretty good to me. It's actually forward thinking and not just like, hey, here's one round and we'll figure it out later. There's also the Encores Act. These are like, they always come up with these bills that are like, oh, we're going to make a fun acronym. And I'm like, I'm not going to read you the fucking acronym. I'm going to tell you like, this is what it's called, because fuck acronyms. Like just do a thing. Don't worry so much about like what each letter stands for. I don't know. Encores will give a wide variety of entertainment venues tax credit equal to half the value of the tickets they refunded. So this is more specific to like a pandemic response, not just a like small business loan like the PPP was. So it's a little bit more focused on that kind of thing. So to me, the fact that there are 3 bills, they all kind of do something that is individual, all towards the same idea. I don't see any reason why we can't have all 3. Like, ¿por qué no los tres?
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I added it. I added a number there. I knew another Spanish number in my brain.
So proud of you.
Yeah. So there's all of them are bipartisan. All of them can be handled through Congress. So you should be aware of these 3 names: Restart, Save Our Stages Act, and Encores. You can call your senators, you can call your representatives, and push these bills through. If you've listened to our podcast at all, you know how important these venues are to us. So that is your task of the week. Is go and fucking call somebody.
Call somebody. You can email them too.
You can email,
go to the NEVA site. They have, I don't know what it's under, but it's not contact, but it's like talk to your, get a hold of your congressperson, and it'll take you to a page, and it'll either give you the phone number to call them, or you can do a email that has a prompt. But the issue with that prompt now is because so many people sent it, which is awesome, it now is going to people's spam inboxes. So you're going to have to, take that email, go to your normal Gmail. And if you want, you can copy and paste the prompt, Gmail. The little Gmail, and you copy and paste the prompt in there, but you have to amend some of it. So you'll just have to change some wording, or maybe you can put in your own like personal reasons, like I fucking love Sub T because every time I go there, something crazy happens. You don't have to tell them everything. Obviously, it's still the government. It's the government. Okay. Don't tell them crazy things. Yeah. Just make small statements of fact and nothing else. Or lie about it. I don't know. I don't care, but send it. And make sure it doesn't go to their spam by doing that. And then tell all your friends to do it too. I know, at least a lot of in my industry, there's been a lot of people, because obviously it's, music and entertainment. We want to hold concerts at these venues because they work with us way easier than, places that have Live Nation on it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh yeah, you want to see Death Cab for Cutie at Shuba's, which was a thing, and it was fucking awesome.
Cool.
You
flex.
Can't do that at House of Blues.
Cool flex, dude.
Listen, that was like my first work event. Sick.
Great flex.
But that's why it's important. If you're somebody who's crazy and you enter in a bunch of online contests for a radio station because you want those types of experiences, we're also trying to fight for you for that too. So make sure that you're doing your part as, a music listener and a music participant. Otherwise, you're going to still be complaining about paying like same price for one ticket and your surcharge fees. And no one's going to be happy.
Listen, if you're a musician too, like this is huge for you. If you're like you were saying about how like when you want to work with a venue and if it's owned by Live Nation, there's going to be a lot more hoops you have to jump through, a lot more work to do, and a lot less of a chance that your shitty little local band is going to get to play there. And I say that, politely, but also your band sucks and you should work harder.
You also were in a shitty local band, so you understand.
Yeah, I am fully aware of myself. I am speaking about myself to myself and also to all of you. So your band is not going to get an opportunity to play at as many venues. I also would mention that Chicago has not been super venue friendly because of companies like Live Nation and because of general apathy towards independent venues. When a large corporation can come into a city, they also can start to throw their weight around and start to kind of push some of these venues out. They can come into these smaller neighborhoods, or I don't want to say gentrify them, but it's like a little bit of like what happened with Double Door, where it's like they want to have a new kind of people coming into a neighborhood.
Right. So for those who don't know, Double Door was around until about, what was it, 2012?
No,
2011?
It was longer than that.
It was longer? I'm trying to think back because I remember I went to a show there in December and then literally like a few days later they shut down. I don't remember what year it was, though.
I'm looking it up just to be certain. I just
But what
want to
happened with
be
Double Door
100%.
was it's in Wicker Park, which is now a heavily gentrified area with a lot of millennials and young families and everything like that. And what replaced it is a Yeti cooler store. And there was a lot of problems with them being able to have their rent sent in and accepted by the landlord, and then the rent kept going up and up and up. And there's obviously a lot of more Chicago politics involved in that would need to be more flushed out and have sources to fully explain how a lot of that stuff has been kind of maneuvering for a very long time in this city. Which is why a lot of people like to say Chicago is so corrupt. Well, okay, but yeah.
Everywhere's corrupt.
Listen.
Fuck you. How dare you?
First of all. But that was one issue. And then also with the Lincoln Yards project that was trying to come in here over the last couple summers that we were talking about a lot too, it was a big kind of mega project with Live Nation. If anybody's ever been to Atlanta, Georgia, they have the Masquerade there. So the venue setup there is kind of crazy. You walk in, it kind of looks like a huge outdoor mall, and it was super weird to me at first because they have heaven, hell, and purgatory is how they separate their different venues. So the heaven level is for a larger audience. I think maybe 5,000 cap. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm just kind of generalizing. But bands like the Distillers played there, for example. So bands who could generate a decent amount of people. And then you have Hell, which is on the main floor level, and it's much bigger too. It's maybe 2,500 people. And then you have Purgatory, which is the main venue that I went to when I went to Masquerade, because I saw Post Animal there. And it was literally mid-cap, maybe 500 people. So they wanted to do something like that. Lincoln Yards, which is a Live Nation subsidy, along with Sterling Bay as well, who owns a lot of buildings in the downtown Loop area. If you work in a corporate building, it's probably 50% possible that it's owned by Sterling Bay. And they basically wanted to do what they had at the Masquerade, but on a much larger level by kind of swallowing up all of the types of venue sizes into this one area, and then also gentrifying the surrounding space by putting in nicer apartments that are $2,000 for a studio apartment, which please never do that. That's robbery. Anywhere that you live.
Chicago.
Me saying that as somebody who lives at home, but I know not to do that still. And they wanted to pretty much do that to an entire neighborhood that was primarily minorities in the area. And it was stopped, but it's still kind of in low-key discussions about either finding a new home for it or working to find a happy medium between the city and large corporations. But we'll see what's going on with that. Obviously there's no talks about it right now because shit has hit the fan. But this is another reason why if these indie music venues don't stay around and they don't have a possibility of doing so, it's just going to make it worse for not only music fans for wherever you are, but it's also going to be worse for those people who are in these communities. It's going to drive up their rent, it's going to drive people out, and then it's going to just be a bunch of the best way to put it is yuppies. And I know you as a punk don't like yuppies.
I'm fine with yuppies.
I mean, not you specifically.
I
mean the
I'm just saying me personally. Also, Double Door closed in 2017.
Oh, okay. I don't know time anymore. I'm 25.
Time is a flat circle right now. So yeah, we would encourage you as a listener, as a person, as a human being, to contact your representatives. Go to the NEVA website, and you can get more information on how to contact representatives and support these bills in Congress so that we can make sure we are keeping our local venues around. On Monday, Yellowcard quietly dropped their lawsuit against Juice WRLD. This has been an interesting story to me because it's like, wow, what a weird take. And it just got weirder from there. So to start the story off, I'm sure a lot of people know this already, but to start the story off from the beginning, Yellowcard were suing Juice WRLD and his estate because there were parts of his song Lucid Dreams, that's the one, the big single by Juice WRLD, which is a great song. I'll give credit that it's a great song, that ripped off some melody parts from, or supposedly, allegedly ripped off. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but it allegedly...
Let's remind everyone that when we say allegedly, or when anybody in any legal circumstance says allegedly, even if you like physically see that somebody's doing whatever they were alleged to be doing, in a court of law, you have to say that legally, because if you were to say, oh, look, they're actually doing it, you can be sued.
Yeah. So don't come for me.
That is why everyone who attacks news headlines, this is why we use it. I know there's a lot of journalists out there who are saying we need to change using alleged and use another word.
No.
There's conversations.
It's called libel.
It is called libel mainly. So
gonna open up those libel laws.
That's your answer for everybody always calling out news headlines. And I could go on about that because I have grievances with people who have grievances with how AP style works. Thank you.
Too bad. Allegedly, the song Lucid Dreams has some parts from a Yellowcard song, which...
It was Hollywood Died.
Hollywood Died. Holy wood is a separated word there. I did not listen to any Yellowcard albums after Ocean Avenue, so I am not, I'm not aware of these other songs. There was only one record.
The only reason I heard that song is because in the broadcast we did a couple weeks back. Yeah, because I wanted to put like together a nice little like news package, so I took the beginning of Lucid Dreams and I put it underneath that as a bed, and then talked a little bit, and then I put the bed for Hollywood Die and I listened to it. I'm like, oh, I see what they were trying here.
It's definitely there. I'm going to give credit to Yellowcard in saying it's definitely there. But it was interesting that they were going to sue Juice WRLD for damages because obviously there's money to be got. It's a $15 million lawsuit for damages. They wanted a co-writing credit, and they wanted money from the song itself and also from the tour, which was kind of wild to me. I was like, that's an interesting, like, hey, you played this song live, so therefore we want money from it. The attorney, Yellowcard's attorney in this, is Richard S. Bush, who also famously won the case for Blurred Lines when Marvin Gaye's family, who I guess it was a big thing that Marvin Gaye's family goes after people who seem to take inspiration, I guess you could say. I'm doing air quotes on the stream right now, so if you're watching, you see the air quotes. Imagine it's like a physical version of allegedly. Air quotes are the allegedly of the fingers. So if he's coming for you is like a scary thing because he won that case for the Marvin Gaye's family, and therefore it could be a change, like a major change in songwriting, where you're now writing music and hoping that it doesn't sound too much like the melody of another song, tangentially, or even with just like the idea of that song. Like, oh, this sounds relatively like that song, therefore we can sue you for money for songwriting credit for that kind of shit on your song.
I mean, at that point, we might as well sue every pop punk band ever. Should just sue each other. Okay. Because that's what it comes down to. I mean, listen to any, honestly, as somebody who listens to it and is a fan of it, you could put on like a pop punk playlist with new bands, and I hear like the same three opening riffs and like 9 different songs. I'm going to be like, yeah, this band, is it Newfound Glory? I don't know.
Fucking
could be. Who knows?
All of them are reminiscent. All of them just take song titles from a band's record, and it's like, that's my band name now. All Time Low, right? Anyway,
or it's Mom Jeans, or now defunct basically, and or something with your parents or your siblings.
Yep.
or like in like articles of clothing.
Two
Don't
words.
get that.
Find 2 words, put them together. You got a ban. Yellowcard. So Yellowcard ends up filing this lawsuit, and then 4 months after they file the lawsuit is when Juice WRLD passed away. So I think everybody kind of assumed that Yellowcard was going to go, oh, maybe this lawsuit is in bad taste. Maybe we don't try to take $15 million from a guy who died.
Yeah, dead kids,
21
family.
years old and dies. Oh, no, we're going to keep this lawsuit going, which I want to be clear as well, because I thought reading about this that Richard S. Bush, the Bush lawyer, I don't know what to call him, that it was like his idea, like how many times would there be, especially a lawyer who's already won a case like this, pushing for a suit against another musician. Like this is a big thing for him. But no, this is straight up just Yellowcard. This was Yellowcard's like, we want to continue to pursue this lawsuit, even though the attorney said, I don't think the optics of this are really good. I think you really should like drop this suit. So the suit has been going on for a while now. It's been paused a few times because there was no one that was assigned to be the owner of the estate. And now finally the person who's been named to the estate is Juice WRLD's mother. And so finally Yellowcard's like, yeah, okay, we're gonna drop this suit. So this was kind of like under the radar on Monday. They dropped the suit, and good, because as they even put it, we didn't really want to go to court against a woman as 4 dudes in a band going against a woman who is now grieving over her loss, her son's loss, and also like in charge of all the money, and is being sued by dudes in a band for what is really a small thing. Like in the grand scheme of things, like it's a lot of money, but like fuck it.
Yeah, and it's when you kind of look at it, because it took them kind of like a really long time to say like, hey, I'm gonna sue you. Like Yellowcard sat and thought about that, because Lucid Dreams came out, I think, earlier that summer.
It was
like they sat a couple months, I believe, and been like, I'm just gonna stew about this for a bit.
It's weird, right? So yeah, I do think it's a good thing that Yellowcard decided not to continue that lawsuit. But also, like, how do you feel about like Yellowcard knowing that they went out of their way to like push this lawsuit?
It's been like kind of difficult, I feel, because it's like, wow, I really like Ocean Avenue as an album. That was like a huge like summer coming of age album for me in between my junior senior year of undergrad. So I was like really into it. So trying to like even listen to certain songs like recently, I'm like, I kind of feel bad because these guys are just being blatant jackasses.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the money, which I understand. Like, you're a musician, you had your 15 minutes of fame like 10 fucking years ago. You're tired of playing emo nights as a DJ. Whatever, get with it. You're in the scene, or you go somewhere else, Mr.
Dude.
But I feel that they're still so prominent in the scene and such like a big band compared to other like smaller bands who have like recently gotten canceled for whatever the reason, that it's not going to affect too much of their kind of like press and like their audience as much, because a lot of their audience too, is older, and it's not like they're usually trolling on Twitter being like, oh my god, did you see this? It's more of like that younger generation, like the younger millennials like myself, and then like Gen Z, who are in there kind of doing that, being like, hey, we should systematically not support these artists because they're being shitty people. And where, somebody who's maybe in their mid-30s, they're like, yeah, I liked Yellowcard and Ocean Avenue and whatever else, and I'm not really engaging in this discourse because I like what I like and whatever. I feel that it's not going to do much, especially if they're quietly closing it out. I
Yeah.
only saw that article posted about it maybe like 20 minutes after it was posted, which if you're looking in Twitter and news release time is like super long.
That's hours.
It's hours basically.
Fuck Twitter.
And it kind of shows that they're like, hey, let's just hope everyone forgets about this.
Yeah.
Because I doubt that, I mean, I know Yellowcard broke up. I don't think that they're going to be coming back anytime soon necessarily. Sorry, Yellowcard fans. I like Yellowcard too. But I don't think they're going to be coming back necessarily. And if they do, they don't want this to pop up and be like, hey, do you remember when Yellowcards were being like,
when Yellowcard was suing the mother of a guy who died for money that was like because he wrote a hit song and they wanted to like get credit for it, and because Juice WRLD was a very avid vocal person about like, oh yeah, I listened to this type of music growing up, that being like emo and pop punk, like kind of putting that on the spotlight. And you hear a lot of like his inspirations in it, and you hear it in a lot of like other newer rappers too, that like some that like my brother picked me up from work one night and he had this song on, had Machine Gun Kelly on it, and this was like his newer like pop punk Machine Gun Kelly that I can actually tolerate. His stuff's good.
Yes, I know.
Stuff's good.
But it was that, and then he was with two other rappers. I don't remember who it was or the song name, but I heard it. I'm like, oh, I really like this because this sounds like stuff that I listen to, or stuff to me that sounds like KQX would play here in Chicago, which is our big like alternative rock station here.
Yeah.
And that's what, that's just what it is now. Like genres have mixed and evolved so much. But I think when you are in an older band, not necessarily saying that Yellowcard's super fucking old or anything, but when you're in a band and you're in a music scene that is so deeply steeped into genre barriers, because obviously emo and pop punk were kind of created to be like, oh, I'm not accepted anywhere else. This is my scene. This is where I feel safe and secure. So I'm not going to let anybody else in any other genre or clique at that point in time. It's like the early 2000s, like whatever teen movie you watched. That's what it was. I'm assuming I was a baby. I was like 6. Okay. I don't remember much of it. I just know from cultural reference.
Oh boy.
But even just like, middle school and high school, for me, at least, when you have that, you're like, don't come in. And I feel that that's the mindset that a lot of these bands who were popular and prevalent during that time still have. Also pin on the fact that it's like, oh my God, like that he made like a shit ton of fucking money. I want a shit ton of fucking money so I can stop doing emo.
Exactly. It's I want the money. Like I want to have this money that he is making off of what I have created. But I'm like, that's the emo night. Like the emo night is making money off of what you created by just playing your straight up fucking song. But like, I don't know. I definitely think that it's something that people should know about as a thing of like, hey, Yellowcard, that's fucked up. Like it's fucked up that you are pursuing this in any capacity. So I'm happy that they have decided to do it. I wish they did it as more of like a public thing, but I do see it as like, if they're already having the conversation about optics, like that's the conversation they're having. So they're not thinking of it like their optics of saying like, yeah, this was wrong, we're sorry. It's like, we can reopen this at any time. That's one of the contingencies of how they're dropping this, is that they are able to pick it up again later if they want to, which is weird that they mentioned that. Why have that as part of the conversation? So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that move. I'm not a big fan of that choice. But now that at least we're talking about it as like a quietly dropped thing, I'm like, it's better than keeping it going. Before we continue with some of the news, we wanted to talk about some releases we've been listening to this week, give you some music recommendations. I'd say we're hoping to have like playlists in the future. When we have guests on, we want to get like recommendations from everybody and put together like a little like new music teaser, taster, whatever. But this is going to be just like new music of this week or recent weeks. So I'm sure you could probably just go to like a new music release playlist on Spotify and get the same thing we do. So just go on your music streaming service of choice and listen to these records. I want to shout you out for posting this the other day. Black Audio, I did not know released an EP. And I'm like,
yes.
I go like in and out with Black Audio because I like AFI is one of my favorite bands. I grew up listening to all of their records and like just obsessed as like an emo kid who wanted to wear makeup and have my hair long and do like weird gothy emo shit.
As you do.
And like obviously loved Black Audio's first record and then was like, oh, it's fine. The other records are they're fine. I'm glad they did it, but I'm like, nah, it's fine. So you posted it the other day that they put out a new EP. I'm like, all right, I got to check this out. Went and listened and like, it's really good. It's catchy as shit. I'm like, holy shit, this is great. So that was a pleasant surprise.
If you like 80s dark wave, like techno, that's basically what it is.
It's weird because they started the band because they really like Depeche Mode. Like just straight up, they're like, we want to make Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode. If your dad likes Depeche Mode,
Depeche Mode is fucking great.
You'll probably like this.
Depeche Mode's fucking great.
This is why I probably like this because my dad likes Depeche Mode.
I will say this one, and even if you look at like the album artwork, it's called Beneath the Black Palms. It's much more vaporwave than I would have expected. It's a little bit more of that like that 80s synthwave thing that's like really popular now. So it used to feel like it's like, oh, this is 80s, but done in 2007, 2008, or whenever the first record came out. And then they were like, oh, we're going to make the same idea in the years that it came in, but it wasn't like, it just wasn't hitting right because there wasn't like this big trend in music to go towards like that 80s sound. But now that we're like kind of repeating that 80s sound again, like we're going back to it, I think it like really works right now. So the music that they're making to sound really 80s and vaporwave and synthwave right now totally works, totally fits with the musical landscape. Yeah, that'd be my take. I would definitely recommend that one. Lizzie, recommend us something.
I know, well, Creeper is getting ready to drop their full album, Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void. Later on, I think overnight, because they're in UK time, they have CreeperCon going on right now virtually. I don't know what that really means, but as somebody who's loved Creeper since kind of like the beginning, after I took a weird alt press quiz of like what emo band are you, and I was like, oh, let me take it, and I took it and I got them and I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then I went to go listen, I was like, oh, they're good. They're coming out with their new album, and I think because they've been slowly releasing singles. I don't remember what the last single they released was, but I remember listening. Oh, it's called Poison Heart. Listening to it, it kind of like our friend James Shotwell said on the last podcast, because it sounded like he got kind of like an advanced listening to the album, where he said this would have been the album My Chemical Romance put out if they put out a new album.
Yeah.
And it is that song that I heard, Poison Hearts, that is so on the nose to what James said. So if I've always been like a huge, like, if you like My Chemical Romance, if you like the theatrics, because it's a very like dramatic, dark theatrical band, and they have concepts to their first album, Eternity in Your Arms. If you like that, and I know you My Chemical Romance fans like that, because I like that too.
Oh, guess you like that.
You're gonna like you'll like Creeper. So I would say go check out Poison Hearts, and when their album drops, to definitely check it out, because I'm going to listen to it a lot. And I also will say New Illuminati Hotties too, fucking hits.
That's the name of a band.
Yeah, it is.
Illuminati Hotties.
Yeah, they're fucking good. Rolling Stones actually picked them up to talk about their new album that just came out. I definitely recommend to give them a listen. I've been listening to them the last couple of years, but this album is kind of like their debut album, I guess, in a sense, because it's hitting mainstream music so much harder in the sense of being like covered and reported on. So that's also really cool to kind of see.
Good. Yeah, so check out that music. And finally, we're recording this on Thursday, but on Friday. So you're listening to this on Monday. Means the last Friday. So currently, in the world that you currently live in, the second season of Umbrella Academy is now out on Netflix. I am super fucking stoked because I have finished the series last year when it released. And Lizzie, you just finished it. I didn't want to say that in a way that was calling you out, but I also wanted you to feel super called out by it.
No, that's fine because I started watching it when it was first released because I was an avid reader of the graphic novels when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And there was obviously always rumors like, oh, they're going to make it into like a TV show or a movie. And, you know, whatever book you read, you're like, yeah, I want this to be a fucking kick-ass movie or show. Duh.
Of course.
Of course. But you know, it didn't happen. And then it finally happened. And I was like so fucking stoked. I had checked out the graphic novels from like my local library. So I didn't have the physical copies, but I'm like, I'll go back to the library and I'll check them out and reread them again. Because I'm always the person who's like, oh, it's not as accurate as the book.
You're going to be that person.
I'm sorry. I've always been that person. But when I watched it, the way that it's put together was like so mesmerizing. I was like, this is fucking cool. And then the episodes were just so long that for me, pre-COVID, I just did not have fucking time to like watch any type of TV in any type of capacity, unless it was like a quick run back and forth of being like, okay, I'm eating. Let's put on Say Yes to the Dress on TLC real quick. And then I'm back out the door. So I just finished Umbrella Academy through like a binge I did like, I think 2 weeks ago, finally, in its entirety.
Finally. So you binged it because of COVID is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I had time where I was home alone one day and I could watch it on the big TV. So I watched it on the big TV.
Big TV.
The big 80-inch TV.
Wow.
Listen, we got it from a Facebook Marketplace sale. And the guy that we got it from, my dad got a hold of him because it was like, I think $100.
I want this to be the exact part of why you finished it. Is like Facebook Marketplace finally encouraged me and allowed me to finish this TV show that I've been trying to watch for over a year. Thank you, Facebook Marketplace. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Stop. So we got this TV and the guy selling it was like, oh, because this was during coronavirus. And the guy selling it was like, oh, we're just going to be home more. So I wanted a bigger TV screen, which 80-inch for a TV screen is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And my dad's like, oh, okay. He's like, there's nothing wrong with it because my dad's really handy with like fixing electrical stuff. So we just thought we've always, you know, just fix stuff, whatever, for cheaper. And they were like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. And we just plugged it in and it's there. Anyway, because I had that big TV too, I can watch it on the big TV instead of my computer and see everything.
Such a long
and it was
lead
very
up.
Nice. And then turn up the subwoofer and like hear and feel everything.
Big fan of the show. I haven't read any of the graphic novels. I have no idea where the hell this next season is going to go, which I love. I love that. I will mention that I have been watching and consuming a lot of media about timelines right now.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Seriously. We got 2 more years until she's going to finish the this new season, so who knows?
Yeah.
But it's still mid-COVID, so you might be able to finish this season, and we might be able to have more future conversations on the topic of Umbrella Academy while it's still relevant.
We'll see.
Maybe. Question mark. That's a big question mark on the future of this podcast. Yeah, so I know nothing about this. I've been watching a lot of content about timelines, about different realities and all of these things. And it looks like that's where this is going to go. That there's going to be like, because they had the whole first season. It was all within this one storyline. They all kind of developed, well, I guess at least like Klaus developed his powers by the end of it. Everybody else was pretty developed as powers. She might finish an episode or 2. Might get a couple episodes in.
Peter's not wrong.
Peter's coming for you. Like,
listen, we also have to be real that I start full-time school in September.
God.
So Peter's predictions are probably on par.
When season 3 gets announced, we'll start talking about season 2.
It's a refresher, you know?
Yeah, right? That's what we want. We want it to be like after it is no longer like relevant, then we want to refresh everybody's memory about it. So Klaus's powers get developed, and everybody like they defeat Vanya, and they this is kind of for anybody who's like hasn't watched it, but I'm also like, fuck you, watch it, and also here's the ending. So they jump into a wormhole and like end up going somewhere to stop the apocalypse, but the apocalypse was not stopped. So it's like the same idea as like we have to stop the apocalypse. So yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers about it, but also like we're gonna talk about season 2, so fuck you. I didn't give a spoiler warning before. I just said like major ending of this show spoilers, but I'm sure if you're like you
That's
haven't
enough
watched
of a
it yet, you don't
spoiler
care
alert.
that I did it afterwards.
It's fine.
So I very much liked it. I think there's something to be said about how much Klaus just steals the entire fucking show. Like,
Oh yeah. They kept him as so much of a kind of like a background fuck up character, and then you start to see him slowly come out, and like when they started talking about when he jumped back in time to like the Vietnam War, and they start to like actually give him more of a depth as a character, I was like, wow, like this
really
is
good.
something I would like to hear more of. And actually Gerard Way is creating a separate series about Klaus and going into his past and how he kind of came like up from a kid and his experiences, because I mean he's a dude who can talk to dead people and like obviously we've seen that like every other fucking horror movie. This is a dude who also like I can talk to dead people and like figure out like how they died and like see them like at will basically.
Yeah.
Which is insane when you obviously this is a supernatural type of sense.
No,
which is insane to think
it's
about.
Real. It's real. It really happens. I just think Robert Sheehan, the actor, is just. It's hard to watch him and not separate him from the characters he plays. Like he very much is just like this certain type of person, and he tends to play characters that are also that type of person. So it just like kind of blends together really nicely. And sometimes I'm like, it's kind of rough. Like I'm always going to see you as that. And then you watch it and you're like, this is just lovely. Like he's just a lovely actor. He is playing an American in the show, but he himself is Irish, and he speaks with just a lovely Irish accent and talks so much about just cool Irish things. I've listened to him on a couple podcasts, and he's very much like a Russell Brand type guy, but like
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, but not like as Russell Brand is Russell Brand.
Yeah, that's also fair. That's
using
also
a
good.
noun as an adjective and an adjective for the adjective of the noun.
If anyone just remembers like the early years of Russell Brand, like pre Katy Perry and during Katy Perry, like you understand what we're talking about.
Mildly post.
Yeah.
He's just a really good actor in the sense that he's doing a very good interpretation of this character. I do feel like Gerard Way was like, oh, I got to do another series on this character because like, look how popular he is. Like, look how this character blew up because of the TV show.
Because there's not really like anybody else of the siblings in Umbrella Academy that I would be like too concerned about, like wanting to know about their past. Because you have Rumor, but she kind of like says like later on in like the later episodes, it's like, oh, and you kind of recount that like she was like going up and being like, oh, I have a rumor, like you gave me the part or whatever. So we know how she kind of got to where she is.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Vanya. It's like, okay, she kind of grew up the way that she's already portrayed and like it's already been described. Cool. And then we have number one. So maybe we would want to number one. I always think of like Codename Kids Next Door. So like every time I heard it, I'm like, is Codename Kids Next Door secretly
number one,
like, grown up?
It's like anything where all the characters are named after a number, which is so often I found so many of them. Like they just call everybody by a number.
It was a theme. It was a theme that people liked in the early 2000s for some reason. Maybe it was more organized. I don't know.
I think you just name all your characters a number and then you like give them a name later and you figure it all out. You're like, oh, I know that this is like the fourth character and like that's what I do.
They feel like a Felix right now. They're number 4, but they're Felix really.
Yeah, just change it later.
Yeah.
I think that my the other characters that I really liked were, I know one of them is Hazel. I forget the other person's name.
Cha-Cha?
Yeah, Cha-Cha and Hazel. Like, I loved them. I
Seeing
loved
like
those
Cha-Cha
characters.
have like more character development. Obviously, you can only do so much in a fucking graphic novel.
Right.
But to see, like, you kind of saw how both of them like interacted with each other. It was kind of like the mismatched partners.
Mhm.
But then you just saw the dynamic, and you were like, this is a little bit, comedic.
Yeah.
But then you actually gave Hazel, like, he wanted to get out and he had a purpose later. But then you see Cha-Cha, who's played by Mary J. Blige, which is fucking awesome.
Crushes
fucking
it.
wrecks it
She's so
in
good.
the best way possible. And she is this like a no nonsense. We get the work done. Work is life. And I'm like, I feel that on a really deep level. And I don't know if that's good. If you watch the ending, it's not a good thing. But their characters are so great.
Yeah, they really are. I actually don't know if they're going to be in this next season.
I don't think so, because technically they're dead. Because even though they're like time jumpers, they're like that was like their physical form. They don't have a way to jump back.
Well, we'll see. They might surprise us. I mean, I have looked up next to nothing. I know that they've released like the first 3 minutes. I have not watched it. I think I watched the trailer, and I didn't really I never gather anything when I watch a trailer now. Like, I watch it and I experience it, but I don't retain any of the information that I see from it. But like, trailers are kind of made as like, you get a sense of the show. You don't get what the show is.
You get maybe like the theme of it.
Yeah.
But you don't get like the full, like, okay, what's the plot though?
Yeah. You get like, what's going to happen in this? What am I going to see? Is it funny? Is it serious? What kind of topics does it get to? What kind of sci-fi is it? What kind of fantasy is it? And then it's like, move the fuck on. You get the music, you get the, that kind of stuff, which I'm fine with that. I want to go into something with no information and experience it and like it for what it is. I don't want to go in with a preconceived notion about it. The only thing I need is like, hey, that dude from that band you really liked growing up and like based most of your life on, and we're in a cover band playing their music. They have a TV show, and I'm like, cool, I'll watch it. It's like, that's all I need. That's the majority of the selling point that I need to watch that show.
Well, I will say, to go off of bands who have like, okay, not like TV shows, but like graphic novels, moreover. So the dude from the Swellers, who is now in Baggage, his name is Jonathan Diener. Mm-hmm. And I actually did like a review when I was trying to get back into reviews for some godforsaken reason about his album. And I really do like it. If you like, this album came out about last year, but it's called like Life in Misophonia, I believe it was, something like that. But it's a really good, solid album. But he's coming out with, I had to look it up. It's called The Inventables, and it's a ska band, like trying to like fight and save the world. And it's in a Kickstarter to like fund the comic book, and it sounds really fucking cool. And I just want to say I love this. I don't think it's a trend necessarily, but I like this vibe that people are going for of like doing music comics if you're already in a band. It just seems right.
Yeah.
It just seems right. Like, listen, who wasn't a fucking nerd growing up?
That's why you became a musician. All right, that's our new episode format. First episode, kind of trying it out. Hope that it works for you. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you didn't, actually no. If you did, go and comment on our social media. Pester Lizzie on Twitter, on our emo social club X on Twitter, or our Instagram at emo social club. Or if you didn't like it, comment on Facebook. We're not checking Facebook, really. So like, just go fucking comment on Facebook.
We'll get the notification that it's there, and we'll look at it to see what's going on. But we won't really, digest it. We'll be like, oh, somebody's using Facebook.
Yeah, they clearly didn't like it, so I don't even need to read that or check it because I don't give a fuck. That's just how we feel about Facebook nowadays. I hope that Zuckerberg really said something important to Congress to make people actually interested in using Facebook. Hope your mom
did
still
not.
likes Facebook. I didn't even look at it yet, but yeah, we hope you enjoyed this new format. Thank you for listening. As I am every week, I am Brian.
And every week, too, I'm Lizzie.
And we'll see you next Wednesday. And good